you heard? Loneliness is the new smoking. According to the National Institute of Aging, the health risks of prolonged isolation are equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Social isolation and loneliness have been estimated to shorten a person's lifespan by as many as 15 years.
Interesting.
Fellow Toastmasters, our agenda for today is to explore different aspects of loneliness, including emotional loneliness, which is defined as the lack of relationship, connection, or attachment, as well as social loneliness, when you don't feel a sense of belonging or that your presence is valued in a wider circle. And these can happen through different seasons of life. Loneliness can often leave us questioning our value to others and where we fit in.
I don't mind being lonely.
No?
No.
Well, you know what? It's a great thing that today we're actually going to have a discussion, and I'm going to be encouraging you as the audience members and our online members to participate in this discussion. I would like for us to acknowledge moments when we have experienced loneliness. And I'm going to invite you to share briefly, 30 seconds or less, kind of like a mini table topics, some of your experiences, feelings, and thoughts. Then I would like us to consider whether loneliness is a choice. Finally, I look forward to ideas and solutions that have helped you so that we can be more aware and have more compassion and empathy towards others as we work towards an antidote for loneliness. To begin things, I'm going to invite you to actually use your phone, pull it out, and join us at slido.com, where if you have any questions, you can type into the question and answer section, which we will get to at the end of the presentation.
Hey Lisa, is that what you're on the back screen there?
Yes, please, that would be perfect.
That is, okay, just wanted to make sure that was real.
Yes.
Just a QR code?
Yep, just the QR code. So if you're not sure how to use it, you just put your camera up to it, and then there will be a little link in the bottom of the QR code. If that's not working, you can go to your web browser, type in slido.com, and then the PIN number to join our meeting. Yes, do you have a question, Bernice?
Yes, I do. Where do you get your information from? Because it's not making a lot of sense.
Well, I can certainly share with you the resources, but I have read a lot of books, which I will cite, as well as personal experiences and information that's found on the internet.
Well, I have to disagree with you because I suffer with loneliness, so it's a hard thing to hear you talk about it so casually.
I appreciate that. Thank you for contributing to that, and that's something that I encourage us to explore as we continue with the presentation. So let's actually brainstorm together. I'm going to open up a poll, and I invite you to type in some of the common causes of loneliness. When you think of loneliness, what are some triggers? What are some reasons that people will feel lonely? Go ahead and type your answer into the active poll, and we should see some responses in our word cloud. Okay, I'll give us a couple of moments for that. I will. Okay, now they're coming in. Missing friends, social media, heartbreak, divorce. Isolation is a big one. Rejection, idleness, death of a family member. Retirement can be one. Working alone, feeling out of sync with your peers. Separation, being in a new country, moving. Not being included or involved in activities. Social media tends to be comparison. Busyness. Lack of compassion or empathy. being excluded, losing a job, being shy. These are fantastic reasons for loneliness. Thank you for participating in that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I know that online they can't always see everything when the screen is being shared. Let me ask you a question. With the show of hands, have you or someone that you know experienced loneliness? Okay, so we all have experienced this and we can contribute to this discussion. As we share our experiences that include different forms of loneliness in different seasons, I feel that we can really foster empathy and connection and remind ourselves that we're not alone in this. For those of you feeling stuck in loneliness, my desire is that we'll shine a light in the dark moments and give you hope that there is an antidote for loneliness. Let me start by saying that the challenges of mental health issues such as depression and anxiety are becoming destigmatized, meaning that we talk about them more freely and we're able to have those conversations. But interestingly enough, sharing the feelings of loneliness is still somewhat taboo. I mean, we see ourselves as independent, self-reliant people. And we don't want to whine about neediness. Many of us put on a brave face and pretend that it doesn't bother us or hurt us as much as it really does. So my question for you, my audience members, if you feel brave to contribute, what triggers did you experience that would cause you to feel lonely? What are some things that come to mind that would cause you to feel lonely?
Oh, I'll go.
Yeah, Diana.
I am originally from Kazakhstan, and it is a big tradition for us to share a meal together. So when we do eat, we try to eat in company and talking to people, talking to loved ones. Personally, I feel lonely when I'm in the office and I have no one to share my meal with and I have to eat alone. This actually makes me very, very sad, and that's why I would rather starve and not eat lunch rather than eating alone. So this is how I experience loneliness.
Thank you, Diana. Anybody else?
Now I know who to have lunch with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go.
Irma.
When we immigrated from South Africa, we had no family members. So I had small kids. And when one of them got sick, I had to take time off from work. There was no one to help. There was no one to say, okay, I'm gonna step in, you relax. I'm gonna take care of the kids. And it was the hardest thing because everything fell on us. And our friends eventually became our family. But it was tough and very, very lonely. No one understands you. They don't get your accent. They don't understand when you want to swear in another tongue or language. They don't understand your frustration because they've never been there.
Very engrossing.
Very
I even had it the other day. I was in a meeting and we're all colleagues, but I noticed that two of the other people were making plans for lunch. And I wasn't
I have no
included.
idea where the Schmidt is. Yeah.
Did you have something that you wanted to contribute, Jan?
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead now.
So I was in this meeting with these two other people who are making plans for lunch. And it's okay, obviously, it's okay for them to have friendships and to do things, but in that moment, I felt a little excluded. I did feel that little bit of jealousy come up that I wasn't doing it, and it was the silliest thing. But I think that there are times where we can't help the feeling, it arrives. And really what the question is what do we do with that feeling?
Why didn't you ask them if you could join?
Because I'm Canadian, I'm too polite.
Or cold.
Right? But that's a good question. And so here's another question for you. What is something that you do to cope when you feel lonely? And Irma kind of mentioned a few things. She's like, how about binge watching certain shows or chocolate? Marcy.
What I did
when I felt lonely is I invited other people to come and spend time with me. I learned over time that there are other people that feel isolated, that may not feel a part of the group. And my response to that was, I'm going to be the hostess with the mostest and bring everybody around. And it was a great way to start building friends and building community.
Excellent. That's a really great way to cope. Because there are the things that we do that aren't so great. You know, sometimes we will stay in bed all day. Or maybe we'll turn to that comfort food. Maybe it's the ice cream or the bottle of wine or something like that because we don't want to do anything. Some of us really wish that other people would come, right, see our need and do something, and we don't do something for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit more.
Yeah, chocolate ice cream would help, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Here's an interesting observation by sociologist Philip Slater in his book called The Pursuit of Loneliness. He says, we seek a private house, a private means of transportation, a private garden, private laundry, self-service stores, and do-it-yourself skills of every kind. Technology has made it unnecessary for one human being to interact with another in the course of going about his daily business. We seek more and more privacy and feel more and more alienated and lonely when we get it. It seems to me that we want things that work against each other. We live in a time where we're looking for connection, but yet we value personal freedom, individuality, and we desire privacy. Are we actively seeking the very things that make us unhappy? Is it then a choice? What do you think?
No, I don't agree, because there is some of us who suffer from depression, anxiety. My daughter, for example, is one. And it's not a choice to isolate. It is a necessity to have to. The anxiety just gets so high, and it's an illness. So I understand what you're saying. We as human beings, we do crave what probably isolates us more, but there are also the clinical illnesses that we should look at.
Yeah, we can't discount that for sure. Any other thoughts? Yeah, John.
Yes, ma'am. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. So for me, it's a matter of choice, because all of us have our own personal mindset and comfort zone. So the thing is that if we tend to be overshadowed by the negative mindset, it will somehow lead to different kind of illnesses. Just like for me, for personal experience. If I will let my loneliness pin me down without knowing what is the cause of my loneliness, then I'm all done. So I really have to find out what causes my loneliness, and then I have to go out from that kind of situation that I am in, so that I would be able to find that specific thing that would make me happy. Because we all know there are some things that we cannot control, just like the depression. But what causes the depression? Most of the time we are overthinking things, and then we don't find a way in order for us to get out from that situation, and then we are just sitting down in our comfort zone and the comfort of the couch inside the house without knowing what would be the best thing that we have to do in order for us not to get mired with that situation.
So yeah, there are definitely things that we can do for ourselves and ways that we can help ourselves to get out of loneliness and some of the things that contribute to it. Let's talk a little bit about values. I really feel that we live in a culture that values self-reliance and independence. I'll give you an example. The other day I was doing some baking and I realized I was out of sugar. Okay? Back in the day, we used to go over to the neighbor and ask for a cup of sugar, because to be neighborly, you would show up uninvited. However, in today's day and age, to be a good neighbor, you don't want to bother your neighbor. That's being a good neighbor. We don't want to inconvenience them. And so what I did is I got into my car and I drove all the way into town and I bought myself a bag of sugar. So not only was
you do that?
because we're self-reliant, we don't want to ask for things. We separate ourselves from our neighbors, and we're independent. We want to do things on our
You
own.
live in isolation like I do, like
Yes.
I've been out in the country, and I phone one of my friends. I don't want to drive for 15 minutes to town and come back. I want to see, you got a cup of sugar I can borrow, Bernice? You know, well, Bernice is almost 15 minutes too, so she wouldn't be my choice, but someone that's opening to drive to. She's
Yes.
my choice as a friend, but
Yes.
you know, I would go across the street to my daughter-in-law. I would go 1 mile away, which in the country isn't a big deal, everybody.
Do you know your neighbors, Lisa?
I do know them.
Yeah.
I do know them, and that's the thing, right? Again, is it a choice? It was my choice not to engage with my neighbors and to create that connection and that community, and instead be independent and self-reliant and waste the gas and buy more sugar than I needed and everything else, right? So each of us.
And you're not a sugar fiend.
No, and each of us. Each of us has these opportunities in front of us, and sometimes it depends on how we feel, how much time we have, those kinds of things. So what do you think stops us from working through our loneliness?
Fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of rejection, perhaps.
Yeah, so I was gonna say
Yeah.
rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Or judgment.
But what happens if you get rejected, Marcy? Nothing deadly is gonna happen. You'll still be alive.
When you don't feel good, you don't
Yeah,
feel good.
But it's part of life, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like to feel embarrassed or shamed or those things. Yeah, so you withdraw to protect yourself.
That's right.
But like there's a perspective of, well, but you're not dying. Like, so you're a little awkward in the moment. You're knocking on someone's door and they look at you strangely and say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have any sugar. And you keep going on.
Well, have you tried using honey?
That's a talk for another time. I have found that the presence of loneliness reflects the absence of connection, not the absence of people. And sometimes I wonder, is my loneliness from not wanting to enter into a greater understanding of others?
It's such a philosophically deep question.
It is. That'll be your takeaway. So just knowing that my time is short, I would like for us to start coming to some practical ideas. There is a clear consensus among medical researchers that social connection has powerful effects on health. Socially connected people live longer, respond better to stress, have more robust immune systems, and do better at fighting a variety of illnesses. So what are some practical things that you, and I'm going to invite my online guests as well to participate in this, what are some practical things that you can do for yourselves when you feel isolated, left out, or lonely? Give me some ideas of things that would help. Terry?
Join a club.
Join a club. Great.
Flirt Communicators is
There
a
you
great
go.
club to
Toastmasters
join.
club. There you go.
Call a friend.
Call someone. Yeah, absolutely.
So what if you reach out to somebody and they turn out to say like him?
Catch yourself lucky that he cares for you.
And say, oh man, I'm not gonna do this again.
You know what? There is some risk, right? in reaching out, that there might be some rejection. Someone might be too busy to really be able to connect with you. But that doesn't mean that you should stop trying, to stop reaching out. Online, anybody have any comments as for practical things that you would either like people to do for you or that maybe you have done for others?
I can go.
Okay, Arobo.
So when you see someone in the gathering and you know they're new, it'll be nice to say hello. For me, when I immigrated to Canada, I listen to small talk, I see what's popular, and I make a conscious effort to try it out so I can contribute to the small talk the next time we gather.
Excellent. Any other?
I'll go.
Yeah,
I'll
Jen.
go. I recently learned there is a difference between a pleasure and happiness on hormonal level, right? So the pleasure is driven by a dopamine hit. This is something that you can do straight away in a very short period of time when you use social media, or when you eat junk food, or when you do something that instantaneously brings pleasure, but then it goes away very quickly. For happiness, on the other hand, it's a different type of hormone that is called serotonin. And this kind of hormone we get when we socialize with people, when we eat together, when we go for a walk. So you want to aim to get that kind of hormone, serotonin, that brings you happiness long term and not the dopamine just for pleasure. So anything that you would do to bring that level of hormone, serotonin, to your life, it's going to affect your happiness, and it will reduce your loneliness.
Fantastic. Thank you for that scientific approach as well. So I found that loneliness usually occurs when we're stuck in self-focus. For those of us who are people of faith, loneliness can become an invitation from God to turn our focus to Him through prayer, journaling, reading scripture, and volunteering. And that's really where we arrive at our conclusion. I really feel, and I've heard from you guys, that the answer is in community. It's in connecting, in service, in loving one another, and connecting with each other in meaningful ways, like a Toastmasters. And really, this is the antidote for loneliness.